For the next few minutes, we will describe the excavations at Sunwatch and explain what has been learned.
14,000 years ago, humans started coming to the Americas. Their evolution is divided into three major periods. The Adena people, the Hopewells, who followed them, and after a 500-year gap, the Fort Ancient period began.
So, when you leave the visitor center, try to think back to another time and try to envision what Sunwatch might have been like 800 years ago.
Wow. This is going to be cool.
What I appreciated most about this museum and display was that they put things in perspective. Human activities recorded in the caves of France 25 to 15,000 BC. And some of those humans found their way to our continent. 10,000 to 8,000 BC, potteries developed. And in the Americas, the Ice Age ends and large mammals become extinct. Wheat is domesticated abroad, and corn is domesticated in the Americas. The first written language is there, the first evidence of settled villages here. 500 years later are the pyramids, and on this continent in Louisiana, 8,000 years later, earthworks are developed. The Adena period lasted 900 years, and in that same time period, the Great Wall of China was built, and the Roman Empire was a dominant force in Europe. For 600 years in the Americas, the Hopewells built mounds, a very elaborate mound. Then something happened, perhaps a collapse and a dark age. The culture that emerged 400 years before Leif Erikson was much simpler and was referred to as the Fort Ancients. Sunwatch Indian Village is an example of this last period of American natives before European intervention. Therefore, they had no domesticated animals except for dogs. They lived in small villages and grouped themselves by clans.
They call it matrilocal residential patterns, which means the women lived in a particular area and the men moved into their area when they were married. So this is showing the men's artifacts are all over the place, but women's were clustered in close groups. And they weren't healthy. So their ancestors had been more nomadic, living primarily on beef. These people lived on corn. 75% of their diet was corn. Some little kid came through earlier. He said, "So the children were all naked?" And the father ignored him. And he said it again. "So they didn't wear clothes then?" He said, "They had spinal diseases, apparently." And only lived to 45 on the average.
Using the same forensic techniques as the police, they've reconstructed the faces of these people. That was very fascinating to me. This is an example of a person that they feel might have been a medicine man based on what was buried with him. Look at the elaborate feathers and design of his cape. Now let's walk down and take a look at the actual village.
Saplings among the larger branches, but they aren't sure They said that there's not much evidence for conflict, so they're not sure whether it was to keep wild animals out or protection from other beings.
Most of the excavation was done in the 80s, and then some of the buildings were rebuilt, and you can actually go in.
Moss growing in the roofs like in Ireland. I think these were short people. The men about 5'6", the women 5'2". I don't consider that short at all. That's normal to me. And then they had this, well, it wasn't adobe, they call it daubing, I think. It's just mud. That was it, mud and straw, I think, stuck on there, on the inside and out. And we had a lot of rain yesterday, so that's what your floor looks like after it rains. So what was it like to live in these houses? The villagers, it says, spent more time outside than inside their houses, since these dwellings were dark, smoky, and crowded. Each house had only one room to be shared by an extended family of perhaps up to 8 or 10 occupants, leaving little opportunity for privacy. Small hearths were built in the center of each house as a source of heat and light. Doorways could be covered with hides or mats during unpleasant weather, but homes would have offered only modest protection from cold winters. It's difficult to gather the raw materials for construction, but these homes would have lasted for at least a few decades. Looks like it would require a lot of upkeep. So not too much room, other than, and it said they lived here a few hundred years, and then probably depleted the resources. It got colder, and like the southwestern people of this time, they just wandered to another area, and no one. But here they're not sure who the descendants are. They know that these were buried out in this area in the homes behind them. They would have been all, and here would have been the same clan. The mounds that you see here are actually unexcavated homes. So they've opened up some of the burial sites to show you where the congregated homes would be. Across the court there is the men's, I think what are the men's huts. Man activities went on there. A lot of spear making and stuff. Probably the lodge, Moose Lodge. This is interesting to me because there's a very similar thing in Tibetan Buddhism. So the cedar post stood at the literal center of the village and at a symbolic center of the social and ideological aspects of the community. In addition to its function as the center of a giant sun calendar, this post held great symbolic significance to the villagers, whom were most likely Algonquin speakers. And the Algonquin cosmology, here's the part that's just like Tibetan Buddhism. The center is made up of multiple layers, or the universe is made up of multiple layers. The above, heaven, sky, the middle, where humans live, and the beneath, earth realms, different realms. These layers are vertically connected by a cedar tree. a world axis that allows communication between these realms. This cedar post symbolically mirrored the cedar tree at the center of the universe. So it connected with the earth below, that which is unknown below. It connects with the beings that are here and reaches up to the beings of the heavens. Isn't that cool? So winter solstice is on December 21st. Winter solstice. The sun is lowest in the horizon, and this is the spot. This hut is in direct alignment with it. Vernal and autumn equinoxes, March 22nd, September 22nd.
Pre- and post-harvest festivals would have taken place when the shadow hit either side of the pole. I am so happy that I discovered Sunwatch and thrilled with the amount of information they give you in the placards, in the displays, in the museum, movie. Really is a wonderful place. I mean, who knew all this was here? Well, I certainly didn't, and now I do, and I hope that you've enjoyed this little visit with Sunwatch. Thanks for watching, and subscribe